practitioner who has spent almost 20 years focusing entirely on real estate. I strive to provide professional service with personal attention both to your clients and to you. I look forward to working with you.
Hi, I'm Jim Slack with Advocate Insurance, your Medicare and senior insurance specialist. I help people with everything regarding to Medicare, including plan selection. So if you'd like a complimentary consultation, please call me at 815-666-6648. Thank you.
Hey, Carol with White Glove Building Inspections, your full service team since 1990. Give us a call, 630-428-4555. Make it great.
Joe Madrano from Loan Depot, and my goal is to be your trusted brand in mortgage lending, credit, and financing. I strive to provide my clients with timely and relevant information so that your clients can make powerful and informed decisions about both.
Carrington Title Partners is partnering with you to support realtors while providing a smooth, confident, and professional closing for your clients. Please go to carringtontitle.com to learn more about our agency program.
I've been the attorney for Three Rivers for over 20 years. I'm currently a major investor with RPEC. Our office works to close deals. Please allow us to work with you, and on behalf of your clients, please reach out at 815-725-7300. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Christy Lister. Many of you know me, but I'm a mortgage lender at M&M Bank, and I'm here for all your mortgage needs. If you have any questions or your clients do, please don't hesitate to reach out. Enjoy your food for thought, and I look forward to getting to know everyone. Thank you and have a great day.
Hey guys, Ray Manuel here with National Title Solutions. We do the insurance for when you refinance or you sell your home. We're a proud affiliate for the Three Rivers Association, and we just want to give a shout out to all the realtors out there and all the other affiliates. I hope you guys are having a great new year. See you guys at the next event.
Do you want to get more buyers to the closing table? This is Scott Seaton, SLS Home Inspections. Are buyers stressed out when buying a new home? Of course they are. We are experts at stress reduction. Try us once and see the difference, or schedule online, slshomeinspections.com.
Are you a purple cow, or do you just blend in? Angle Drone Solutions has numerous ways to make you stand out, including our 3D tours and aerial photography and videography packages. Give us a call today.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Becca Willie with Radon Express. I am the affiliate chair this year.
I'm Joe Madrano. I'm the other chair that will be taking over next year.
Yes. So we have a really great session for you guys today. Before we get started, I am just going to go over a little bit of housekeeping. Three Rivers has some great events coming up. So the flyers are in the back, but we have an MRED training session with Carrie Little. We have, we're going to be offering the Illinois Broker to Managing Broker 45-hour course. So if you're interested, make sure you guys grab that. RPAC has 3 very informative municipal luncheons coming up. They're spread out to the different geographical areas, so I highly suggest you try to make the one closest to you. We also have an RPAC trivia night coming up Friday, August 18th at Scooters. This is going to be a lot of fun. And then the annual membership breakfast is next week. It is Wednesday, July 19th at Mistwood Golf Club. So if you haven't registered yet and you're interested, please let Molly know. So at this time, I'm going to introduce our sponsors for today. If you're a sponsor, if you want to come on up.
Okay. Hi, I'm Christy Lister from M&M Bank, and I'm here for, of course, all your mortgage needs. I also, some are aware, some are not, that we are doing I-10 loans now. So if you have some non-conforming loans like the I-10 loans, go ahead and have them give me a call and sit down with me, because I've been able to accomplish a lot with those this year. So thank you.
I guess I'll go next. Hey everybody, Joe Madrano again. Loan Depot is who I work with, and I just wanted to share with you. I mean, so I'm a lender. I do all kinds of stuff with probably every other lender here, but I wanted to just share this quick story with you. I helped a borrower, a first-time home borrower, who came to me in 2019, bruised credit, not much for a down payment. I coached this individual for several years, and eventually last year in 2022, this month last year, he finally closed on his home, and I thought it was a done deal. I get a text message from him last night and says, "Hey Joe, long time no speak, LOL. So I wanted to invite you to our kind of 1 year late housewarming party for the property you helped me close. I understand you're probably busy, but I figured I'd reach you because you helped me a ton over the last couple of years, and I really appreciate that." Guys, this is what all of us here in the room do, right? We're there to touch people's lives, and it's all about helping people. So I'm a relationship guy. One of the strengths that I have is I'll take a first-time home buyer that's in need of coaching for either credit or down payment planning, and that's what I love to do. Joe Madrano with Loan Depot.
Good morning, everybody. Ron Engel from Engel Drone Solutions. I'm the purple cow guy. So anyway, if you're looking for any videos, aerial videos, or photography work, I'm the guy to call. So again, my name is Ron Engel, and my company is Engel Drone Solutions.
I was worried about the phone.
It was a blue cow calling.
My name is Scott Seaton, SLS Home Inspections, home inspector with a heart. People always ask me, where does that come from? It came from, I found out I had a real heart when it stopped 10.5 years ago, and was shocked back to life and became a vegetarian, and here I am standing here 10.5 years later, and I have a real heart. So love working with first-time buyers, love working with experienced buyers, and we travel. So I'm going to Marseilles later, and someday this week I'm going to Gilman. So and when someone says Carbondale, I'm probably going to say that's a little far, but appreciate having you, all of you showing up today, and give us a call.
Hello. So, he's a purple cow, he's got a heart, and I got a glove. Woo! Anyways, we've been in business since 1990, kind of when the beginning of the lovely inspection industry, which is exactly what you love during that whole real estate transaction, right? I get it. Anyways, we were full-time, full team, 7, 8 of us now, out there doing inspections. We do both residential, commercial, and all your environmentals, radon, mold, VOC, thermal imaging, sewer scope, chimney scope. So give us a call. Call the white glove. All right, I'm fun.
Cool. I forgot I was a sponsor. Sorry for the attire. I'm going to a golf outing after this. But I'm Ray with National Title Solutions. We're a full-service title company located in Romeoville and Bolingbrook. 2 offices in Tampa, too. Licensed in 14 states, but we're able to do 46 in total. Right now, 2023, we're really big on education and bringing value to our partners. So if you guys want to collaborate on something, see how we can get some business for you guys, let us know. Ray with National Title.
And one last time, I am Becca Willie with Radon Express. We're a veteran-owned and operated radon mitigation company. Without our sponsors, we couldn't do these food for thought. So I just wanted to give one last thank you to everyone who supports us. So thank you to our sponsors, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Her name is Susan Holman with Eye to Eye Consulting. Susan spoke at our leadership development course and was a huge hit. So we asked her to come back and offer you guys some education as well. Susan continues to craft an impactful career as a sales trainer, mentor, and entrepreneur. Her career includes several years as an educational administrator prior to successfully developing her own business for the past 4 decades. So without further ado, Susan? You're welcome.
Good morning. Are you super excited, energized, revved, ready to rock, ready to roll, ready to go, 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 and learn a lot of great things about selling? Ooh, one of my favorite subjects. I love to teach people how to sell. I'm passionate about that. I'm Susan Holman with Eye to Eye Consulting. I'm an interpersonal communication and sales skill coach. And literally, I am passionate about supporting individuals to shake off their fear of talking to another human being and to learn the skill set of selling. We all sell at all times in all areas of our lives. And of course, I'm standing in the presence of individuals who are selling as a profession in your lives. And I'm really, really excited to be here. So thank you to Molly and her team for allowing me this opportunity to pour in. You're pouring into you by being here today. You're very busy professionals. You could be 1,000 other places, but you chose to be here today to invest in yourself. So I'm honored to be able to contribute and share a little bit about selling, about creating those relationships and learning how to communicate within the construct of selling, because selling is an interpersonal communication construct. Did we know that? It is. So I'm excited to be here today. I do want to share with you at Eye to Eye Consulting, I bring my services to market 3 different ways. I do individual coaching, I contract with businesses, and I also have an academic arm. I'm an adjunct for COD, I'm a presenter at JJC, and I'm also an adjunct for Eastern Illinois University. I contribute in the sales program at the School of Business for Lewis and other institutions of higher education in the United States. And I have an offering. I actually have a sales workshop coming up on September 6th at Joliet Junior College. It's from 6 to 9 p.m. Right here at the main campus on Hubbell in Building T. And it's in their career and professional development non-credit side. So it's very, very easy to register for these classes. So if what you experience here today, you believe and feel is something that you'd like to extend and bring some more value and merit into your skill set of learning how to be a master seller, I invite you to join us. Please give me your information before you leave today, and I'll make sure that you get registration material. Registration for the classes in the fall at JJC open on August 1st. And again, this is on the non-credit side, so it's very simple to register and to attend the events. And I offer each individual who attends my classes at JJC and at COD, I offer them 2 hours of complimentary coaching post-session, so we can sit down with each individual and we can tweak where you're at in the process, and we can tailor make, focusing in on what you want to change in your sales presentation, which it's exciting because everybody's at a different place at a different time in their development, in their career, and also in developing their skill set of selling. So let's get started. Oh my gosh, as a real estate professional or as what is your primary function? What do you do on a daily basis? What's your number one task?
Try and make money.
Good, that's a good thing. Try to make money. That's an excellent thing. What else is what would you identify as your task? Primary task. Number one.
Finding clients.
Yep, have to have clients or you don't have a business. Absolutely. What else?
Making connections.
Making connections. Thank you very much. It's all about relationships. What's that number one? I would consider it to be the number one thing that you do on a daily basis.
Help people.
Help, absolutely. Relationship, engaging in relationship. And talk, right? We communicate. We're going to talk about how human beings communicate today. It's pretty interesting how we do. But as a professional in real estate, your number one function is to sell, 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 correct? That's what you do. And it's very interesting to me. I had one of my handouts there, not the DISC and the communication style, but one of the handouts I found. I'm working with another realtor at the current time, and I'm putting together 6 sessions for her. It's Carmen Carter from Carter Realty. And I was doing some research online, and I found this checklist. Yes, God bless anybody who's sneezing there. And it's very interesting on that checklist, and this is primarily for an individual who's entering into the profession of real estate, but nowhere on that checklist does it say, get some training in sales. So may I ask you a question? How many of you have had any formal, informal, or collegiate sales training? Yay! Yippee skippy, rock and roll. That is awesome. I'm excited to hear that because quite often when I'm in front of a group and I ask that question, individuals who are engaged in the profession of selling or a profession where they are selling at all times, and we're all selling at all times in every quadrant of our lives, and if you're an independent business person, you're selling all the time, they've had no training, absolutely no training. So I'm honored to be here today to share some information with you about the basics of selling and hopefully continue my relationship in being of service to you, because we're all servant leaders, servant communicators, and servant business persons, which is really, really important. So let's get started. Oh golly, probably about 6 weeks ago, I went over to Ann Arbor, Michigan. My new daughter-in-law, my newly minted daughter-in-law, my youngest son got married on June 3rd, graduated from medical school. And one of the speakers at their graduation said, you've now spent 4 years in medical school learning the nuts and the bolts of becoming a doctor and learning the nuts and bolts of medicine. But when you start your residency in a few weeks, you're going to learn how to practice medicine. So it's the same story for you as professionals in sales and auxiliary businesses that support the real estate industry, and for anyone who runs their own business. We get good by practicing, right? We get good by engaging in the process and practicing. And we're going to learn some skills today that I hope you'll take with you when you leave here today, and you'll engage with that skill set and you'll build up that skill set, which is really, really important. So we're excited. Are you excited? Everybody excited? I gotta get the energy up. Woo! You know the 3 energies, right? Positive assumptive energy, lethargic energy, and manic energy. Okay. Here we go. Rock and roll. Woo! You know, a little kinetic, positive assumptive energy going on here today. So selling is all about relationships. So when I was listening to your sponsors share with you what their business is, what I kept hearing is, I'm client focused, I'm focused on relationship, I'm focused on building a bond of trust, I'm focused on being supportive. I was speaking to some of the professionals here in the room before we started. I said, what do you like best about your business? I like helping people. You are all on the right track, because that's where you should be today. The old adage of selling, that you're here to manipulate somebody into doing something, you're here to try to make somebody make a decision they're not choosing to make on their own, you're trying to shove something down somebody's throat, that's dead and gone. And if you're a sales practitioner today and you're still engaged in that process, you're way off base and you're not going to be highly successful. Whether you're a real estate professional, whether you're running your own business and selling your own business, it's all about the other individual. It's all about relationship. Life and business is about relationship. Secondly, it's all about communication. Selling is all about being others focused and being a master at communication. As I said, people don't realize this, but selling is a construct of interpersonal communication. So when you're selling with someone, you're engaged in an interpersonal communication construct where you're talking to another human being or to other human beings, and you're engaging them in relationship, and you're seeking to bond, and you're seeking to build trust, correct? Here's a secret. Nobody will do business with you if they don't trust you. Pretty interesting, but the truth. Another thing about communication is my question to you, do you know your own personal communication style? How many people know their own communication style? Can you share with me what you believe your communication style is?
I'm a cross between the outgoing and it's like the bottom corner.
An S on your DISC, is that what you're referring to?
I'm bottom corner, but I'm sort of over here too.
Okay.
I'm not a driver, and I'm not a tech nerd. I'm not a hugger like my wife is. She's over here. I'm over here, but sort of.
Okay, so you're kind of running through the quadrants, and we're going to talk about DISC in a second. Because did you know that your personality type, your primary personality type, which you're going to discover on that DISC assessment, is what drives your communication style? And you have strengths in your communication style, and you have challenges in your communication style. And the key, of course, as individuals, as human beings, is that we're going to work with our strengths, right? We're going to let our strength be the driver in our conversation and our communication style, but we're going to manage our challenges. So before we go ahead and do our little assessment, I will tell you, and I bet you can probably, it's not going to surprise anybody here, when I tell you that I am a D, I am a high D, I'm a driver, right? I always want to be in charge, I always want to be in control, I always want to make sure that we're coming to the end product that I've already decided is going to be our end product. Now, think about that communication style. I'm not afraid to drive conversation. I will engage you in conversation. I will drive the conversation. I will drive the conversation. Judy, I was driving the conversation, right? We were engaged and we were communicating, and I will drive that. A lot of personalities are afraid to drive conversation. They're more hesitant. Usually going to find that in an S and a C personality versus a D and an I personality. Now, those are my strengths in communication. I'm not afraid to ask questions. I'm not afraid to ask you a survey question, a probing question. I'm not afraid to come in and see if I'm right on track and we've discovered our need mutually together with a need affirmation question. And then I am not afraid to close. I'm a closer. A lot of times S's and C's are afraid to close. A lot of times I's don't close because they just want to have fun and I just want you to love me, honey, so let's just go have a drink and think about it. Okay, fine. No, not. So, it's important to understand what are your strengths in your communication style. Number one, what is your communication style? And number two, what are your strengths in your communication style? And then what are your challenges? Because we always have to manage our challenges. As a high D, my strengths are wonderful, but I know personally, I'm going to be 69 years old next month. I've been in sales for 41 years. I've been functioning as an adult person for many seasons. When did I turn 21? I don't know, way back when. Woohoo, rock and roll. But one of my things is I can drive the conversation. I can ask the questions. I can work with the individual to discover the need. I can confirm it. I can come in for the close. But one thing I do in my brain, how many people in here think they're Ds before you take the assessment? Dominant? Okay.
I've done the assessment, so.
So you've done, okay, so the bottom line is, I want the bottom line. And if you're not moving with me in the conversation, I have a tendency to dismiss you. And Ds can dismiss in communication. And that can be deadly, especially in the selling process, and especially if you're working with an S and a C who take a lot longer to make a decision. And Ds get impatient. And you can dismiss. You're like, I'm done. I did my job here. These people aren't closing. I'm out of here. I'm done. I'm out of here, right? I know that sounds very cold, but that's a D, and that's how Ds communicate. And it's not just when I'm engaged in a selling interaction, it's when I'm engaged in other quadrants in my life as well. I always laugh when I would say to my kids, get in the car, let's go. I don't have time for this, get in the car, let's go. They all turned out fine, thank you, dear Jesus. But, I'm a driver, so that's my communication style. Not a bleeding heart, not a people pleaser. When I married my husband 31 years ago, he said, you don't really care what people think about you, do you? And I go, no. I know who I am, and people will either accept me or they'll reject me, and I can't control that. I can't control another human being. I can only control me and how I respond to the stimulus in my environment. And I don't mean that to be cold and harsh, but, honestly, you're gonna love me or you're gonna hate me. Not much I can do about it. So there we go, rock and roll, and we move on. So what I'd like to do now, how many of you have ever done a DISC assessment? I am so excited to hear that. Yay! So this is gonna be like zippity-doo-dah, rock and roll, and away we go. DISC has been around for almost 100 years. Isn't that amazing? And it's used in schools, businesses, organizations, and it's really an eye-opener for a lot of people because so many individuals do not know what their personality type is. And what I'm most concerned about when I'm coaching people and selling is not so much what your personality is, because the Lord made you and you're special, and that's who you are, but how does that translate into your communication style? And how do you control your communication style to be an effective communicator? So why don't we take a few minutes, zip through that DISC form if you haven't done it before. It's right here. This is really, really simplistic, people. It's not tough. You're going to find that when you're doing the DISC assessment, 2 of the quadrants are going to be more dominant, 2 are going to be more recessive. Some of you might be like me, my D's way up here, and then I, and a lot of C. So, and my S is like down there. So that's a driver. I mean, that's what drives me. But we want to see what drives you. If you're a high C, that's going to drive your communication style. If you're a high S, that's going to drive your communication style. If you're a high I, that's going to drive your communication style. And this is what I want everybody to know. I don't care what your personality is. You can all be successful in life, and you can all be successful in sales. Did I? Oh, you need the form. Oh, Becca, she needs a form. She needs a DISC form. Okay, great. So go ahead and take a few minutes to do that, and then we can talk about communication style, and then we can move forward. How's everybody doing? Everybody just about finished with that? How many individuals charted out as D being their high quadrant, and that's their communication style? Excellent. How about a C? Who's analytical? Anybody come out at the top at analytical? Okay.
Almost all four. Pretty close.
Almost all four? Well,
Everything's almost even.
oh, a well-balanced human being. It's interesting with that. We'll come back and address that. So high C, any other high Cs? Analytical? Okay. How about S, steadiness? Steadiness, okay, great. And what about I? Woohoo! Who are the high I's? The high I's, the people persons, the woo, high I, woo, 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 woo. Okay, we always know a high I, right? They're the woo, woo. Has anybody ever taken the Gallup Strength Finders? Have you ever taken Gallup? That's really a good one to take too. But one of them on that is woo, and that's the I. I mean, the people are like, woo! You know, they're always excited to be in the presence of other human beings. They feed off other human beings. They're all about the party. They're all about people. They're all about the social aspect. They're all about integrating into that. I's make a decision very quickly, but I's have the highest percentage of buyer remorse. Did you know that? So I's will make a decision very quickly. Oh, this house is really pretty. Oh, look at the new paint. It's so nice. I just have to buy this. You know, there's water in the basement, but you know, they want to buy the paint. They want to buy all the glitz and the spits because somebody redid a house, and you know, they just think it's so pretty. And oh, I really like that. And just think all the parties I can have here, and this is going to be great, and it's just going to be awesome, and I'm just going to love it, and blah 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 blah. Right? But they're not looking at all the other things you need to look at. That would be a high I. Anybody who always wants the party, right? Which is very, very interesting. So we've got S's, we've got C's, we've got D's, and we've got I's. You said that you're balanced on your 4 quadrants.
Yeah, this is like the 3rd time I've done it.
And you always come out that way?
Yeah, it is almost always. I tend to be just slightly more on the I and the D.
Okay.
But my the other 2 quadrants are just right there.
Okay.
So,
Well, you probably drive your communication style with D or I then. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
How fast do you make a decision?
not always as fast as people think. I'm very
Okay.
slow.
Okay. Okay. That's always a determinant when I ask about DISC, because that's more of a C. You said your C's and S's are slower to make decisions, where D's and I's are faster to make decisions. And it's interesting when this is part of communication style in D and I, but a dominant, how my brain works. Who are the D's here? Who are the D's here, right? Okay, here's your D. How your brain works is, okay, here's my sequence. When I make a decision, this is what happens internally. Here's my pros, here's my cons. This is the benefit for me. This outweighs this outweighs this. Let's do it. Now, I do a lot of due diligence, and I preach due diligence. You have to do your research. Don't be a silly, like off the wall kind of person. But I will make a decision. When all of my elements have aligned, and I've made an assessment that this is the best decision for me, I'll make it quickly, I'll make it decisively, and I'll move on it. My husband and I, when we got married 31 years ago, we decided to get married, finally. And, well, my husband's a high C. I'm a D. My husband, we went through, before we got married, second marriage for both of us. We had children coming into the marriage. And we sat down and, I do have a lot of analytics in me, believe it or not. 3 goal setting sessions, right? We mapped out everything. We mapped it all out. And here's the D. And this is a true story. And this is off my thing, but I'm going to tell you the story. So he's high C's. Anyway, we're at our 3rd goal setting session. We're at his apartment. And then he starts going back into what I call his cave. And I was done. I was a D. I was done. I was 39 years old. I had a son. I had a business to run. I didn't have time to play dating. I'm like, you want to marry me? Marry me. I know what you got. I know what, we've got the same goals. Everything's aligned. I just looked at him. I said, if you want to marry me, because if you don't, I'm done. I don't have time to play dating. I don't have time to play relationship. I have a son to raise and a business to run. So let's do it. And he was a C, and he looked at me, and he looked at me, and he looked at me for about 5 minutes. Well, that was the closing question. If you want to marry me, let's do it, because I'm done here. And he got up, he came over, and he said, will you marry me? I said, yes. 2 weeks later, we bought a house. Boom, boom, boom. Decisive, right? That's the next thing, and then we got married. Boom. Once everything aligns, boom. So D's are swift decision makers. I's will make a fast decision as well in the communication process. And if you're a professional in real estate, or you're working in this industry and you're working with people, they'll make a decision very quickly as well. They're not facts generated. They're not information generated. So they are individuals that have the highest buyer remorse. Well, they'll go, oh my gosh, I just bought this really pretty house. And somebody goes, well, that's in a floodplain. You're going to need flood insurance. And, you know, that house, my neighbor lived across the street from that house, and they always took water in that basement and blah, 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 blah. And they go, oh. And then they call up the real estate agent and go, well, you know, they put money down there. But, you know, it's like, you know, buyer's remorse, right? Buyer's remorse. So that's getting into a whole different realm, but it is part of the communication process. So just really, so we can move on because we have a lot to do before we're done here today. What I want you to do is I want you to, first and foremost, identify what your strengths are. What is your communication style? Because if you don't know how you communicate, you cannot be an effective communicator with another human being. So you need to find out, okay, what are my strengths in communication? Am I building off of those strengths in communication? What are my challenges? Am I managing those challenges? Am I aware of areas that I'm not being as effective in the interactive communication process with that person? And it's kind of difficult in an hour to, I said, I could do a 3-hour workshop on communication, but this is for you to identify, what is your personality type? What is your primary communication style? And here is the skill that you want to develop as a professional in sales and as a human being engaged in communication. The most important thing that you can develop after you've decided and figured out how you communicate and what your strengths are is to be able to identify when you're talking to someone what their communication style is. Because human beings like to be communicated with in their style. Remember that. Human beings like to be communicated with in their style. Now, that doesn't mean that you change you in the communication process because you have to be you, but you have to tailor your presentation to be reflective of what you're reading that individual and or those individuals are that are sitting across the table from you or sitting across the desk from you or standing in your office or standing in a home making a decision to purchase a home. If I'm a D and I'm working with S's and C's, I had better know what's going on there. I had better know that an S is not going to make a decision quickly. They're going to have a lot of questions and tribulation. They may want to go home and talk to the neighbor, talk to the mom, talk to the dog, talk to somebody before they make a decision. And a C is going to want an exorbitant amount of information before they make a decision. We bought our last house 23 years ago, so it was a little bit different than it is now. But my husband was into every single detail of two houses we bought since we've been married, property, like crazy. Like he used to make a book about everything, and he would make me take pictures of everything. When it's crazy because he's a high C. So in that communication style, if I was an I working with the C, I had better fill that C's needs or there would not be a sale. So communication style, I'm happy to work with you individually if you want to identify where you're at as a communicator and how you can work with other individuals and identify that because it's critically important, especially when you're in a selling interaction with another individual, especially when you're developing relationship with another individual and you're communicating with another individual. And that takes place everywhere, whether you're sitting across the desk and doing mortgages with people or whether you're signing people up to have, to go out or whomever to take pictures of their house from a drone. They used to do it from planes. Isn't that wild? I have a picture that came along with my house that somebody took from a plane over my house in Tamarack. Interesting, but now they do it with drones, right? I don't think so. Okay, so moving on. So we're excited about that. Do you know how people communicate? Do you know the 6 ways that human beings communicate?
Their eyes.
Right.
Their mouth. Their body. What gestures.
Right.
I don't know, leaving the door.
Okay, so there's 6 ways that human beings communicate. Verbal, nonverbal, visual, in the written form, meta, only human beings communicate meta, and energy. Those are the 6 ways that human beings communicate. Verbal, nonverbal, visual, in the written form, through meta communication, and through energy. Do you know what meta communication is? I think somebody read the dictionary before they named their parent company after that. Facebook, right, Meta. You've all heard Meta. Meta is, okay, so only human beings do this. Nobody else does this. We communicate about our communication. That's meta communication. That's social media, right? We communicate about our communications. Animals don't do that, but human beings do. So those are the 6 ways we communicate. So there's a professor out there, I don't know if he's passed or whatever, but he was at University of California, and he studied the construct of interpersonal communication, and he gave percentages to how much of our communication process is impactful on the other person when we're talking to them. 7% of the words that are coming out of my mouth are making an impact on your brain. Only 7%, only 7%, 7%. Because we think it's all verbal. We think it's all verbal. 35% is word liking. All of you, no, I'm sorry, 38%. 38% of you assessing me today has been what is called word liking. You're going, why does she talk so fast? Why does she use those words? Why does she put those words together? What is she saying? Your body, your brain, your being seeking to comprehend that. Does she have a dialect? Is she pitching her voice through her nose? What's her tone? Does she talk too low? Does she talk too high? Man, her voice is making me a nutcase. This is all called word liking. 38% of your communication process is word liking. You're dealing with a lot of people, so you're going to be engaged in a lot of conversations. 55% is nonverbal. 55% is nonverbal. What is your body saying? Your body is screaming all the time. Isn't that crazy? Your body's talking louder than anything else. So watch your body language. When you're meeting with somebody for the very first time, are you open to them? Are you creating relationship? Are you connecting with them? Here's a couple of other incredible statistics that are kind of scary. Not scary, they are what they are. When I meet somebody for the very first time, how much time do you believe you have to make an imprint on that person and start formulating the foundation of the relationship, which is what you're building everything off of to step forward as a business person or a professional in sales to do business with them? How much time do you believe you have to make that initial imprint, that mama duck, baby duck imprint? How much time do you think you have?
A few seconds.
Bingo. 8 seconds. And usually by the first 60 seconds, that person's opinion of you has put down the first layer of the relationship that you're seeking to build, the connection you're seeking to build. So don't we want that to be favorable? You know, when we're all growing up, what did our parents tell us? You only have one opportunity to make a good first impression. You only have an opportunity to make a good first impression. They were so right. Those moments when you wake up one day and go, my parents had brain cells in their heads, right? That happened many years ago for me. But, you know, when you go, wow, my mom was right. 8 seconds, up to 60 seconds. And being in sales, I watch individuals throw that opportunity away all the time. They throw the opportunity away all the time, all the time. That initial connection, that's critical. It's critical because remember, it's relationship, relationship, relationship. It's building relationship, it's communication, it's trust, and so much of it happens within the first minute you meet somebody. Wow. I was at an event yesterday, Between the Raindrops, and was introducing myself, and this individual came up, and she introduced herself to me. I introduced myself back to her. She said, what do you do? I said, I teach people how to sell. Her whole body changed. Her whole energy changed. And she literally physically turned away from me, and I was standing next to another person, and she talked to that person, and then she just walked away. And when she walked away, I said to the woman standing next to me, I went, whoa, she shut me down, didn't she? And she goes, she sure did. And I was like, wow, interesting, interesting. So, you know, interesting how people communicate, interesting what they're using when they're communicating. That certainly was not a primary bonding moment between me and that woman. You know, definitely that relationship was going nowhere. Don't understand why, really seriously, because I never got beyond, I'm Susan Holman with Eye to Eye Consulting, and she just went, I mean, that was it. She was out of there. So very, very interesting. Wonder what was going on there. So 60 seconds. Guess what? Here's a key. Here's the key. And we've come out of the wonderful old pandemic, right? So I hope it's all gone in the back rearview mirror. We never have to see it again. But did you know that when you meet someone for the very first time, when you physically touch them appropriately, that your ability to communicate with them goes up 80%? Wow. So don't throw that handshake away. Don't throw that fist bump away. Don't throw that high five away. Don't, you know, if we're in Europe and we're kissing on the cheek, don't throw that double kiss on the cheek away. That is so profoundly powerful. So profoundly powerful. Because what are we doing? We're connecting and we're developing relationship. We're connecting, we're developing relationship. Now, a lot of you are probably sitting here and going, what does this have to do with sales? This has everything to do with sales. Remember, selling is an interpersonal communication construct. It's all about relationship, 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 relationship. You need to enter into a relationship with an individual and or individuals. You need to connect with them. If they don't trust you, they won't do business with you. So remember that. And that begins at the beginning. So let's talk a little bit about more of that connection as we're rolling through here, which is really exciting. How many of you have ever heard of the Ninja selling system? Okay. How many of you engage in that system? Okay. What is the basic premise of that system? Amen. Relationship, 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 relationship. So when I'm teaching on the collegiate side, I teach in some spaces out of a book that's called Partnering to Create Value. Well, I swear, you know, this gentleman, Larry Kendall, read that book because this is what we're teaching in collegiate spaces today and in other areas as well, in professional spaces, that it's all about relationship. And his premise in that book is stop selling and start building relationships. And he talks about that connection point. He talks about that communication and connection point. So I have a question for you. If you're a real estate professional, when you meet someone for the very first time face-to-face, because I'm assuming most of you have had some connection with the potential buyer prior to that person sitting across the table from you, sitting across the desk from you, sitting across the Zoom screen from you, and they're saying, okay, I'm ready to buy a house. I want to buy a house now, right, in residential. I want to buy a house now. So this is intake, right? This is when you're beginning the actual activity process to develop that relationship with that individual and start working with them. What's the very first thing that you do in that interaction? What do you do? Ta-da! You engage them. Hi, I'm John. I'm John Smith. So excited to have the opportunity. Well, I'm Joan Smith. So excited to have the opportunity to start this process with you. Do you know how many people don't say their name back to you? Oh my gosh. So here's a couple things when you're engaging that person on that connection point for the very first time, when you meet somebody for the very first time, say your name twice. They laugh, you know, people don't laugh at me. They've learned that skill set. I learned that 1,000 years ago, that you should say your name twice. Why do you say your name twice?
They miss it the first time.
Bingo. Imprint, 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 imprint. Now, what I'm seeking to do when I do that is I'm seeking for you to say your name back to me. It's amazing to me in all different quadrants of business, in all different areas when I'm interacting with people, I'll introduce myself. They don't say their name back. You need to say your name back to people. You should say your name back to people 2 times. I'm John Smith with X, Y, and Z Company, right? I'm Joan Smith with X, Y, and Z Company. Say your name back. Here's another little trick of communication when you're dealing with people. People like to hear their name. They like to hear their name. So if they say, I'm John Smith, you say, John, so nice to meet you. What motivated you to be here today, John? I've just said that person's name 3 times. You know what's happening internally to that person? Oh, they love me. They really love me. They're using my name. They care about me. That's the internal mechanism that's happening. Do you know, okay, so introduce yourself, first thing you're going to do, right? And you're going to make that connection. Use your name twice. When they say their name back to them. If it's 1 person, if it's 2 people, a lot of times I would assume in residential, you know, when people are buying a home, you know, residentially, there's going to be, usually, not all the time, but 2 people, right? There might even be more people in the crowd. That's kind of dangerous because there's more decision makers there. But you know, husband and wife or partners looking, right? Whatever. So you're engaging in creating relationship with them. So you want that introduction. What's the next thing you would do? Tell me what you do on your intake. What's the next thing you do?
Find out about them.
Amen. Amen. So what would that look like?
Open-ended questions.
Thank you. Open-ended questions. And then what's another key with those questions? You start with survey questions. You're looking for a point of alignment. So what is a point of alignment? A point of alignment is, did I grow up in the same town you did? Do we go to the same school? Do you like the same sports that I like? Do we have the same hobbies? Where do you live? People want to do business with people they believe and perceive are like them. So find a point of alignment. That's standard sales. Find a point of alignment. If if somebody comes into your office for mortgages, find a point. I mean, we're selling mortgages, we're selling houses, we're selling, so let's find that point of alignment where they feel that they can align with you. They can align with you. And you do that through a series of questions. There's survey questions, there's probing questions. That's where you're digging deep with the probing questions. And then, of course, there's need affirmation once you mutually arrive at the need that they reveal to you. Do we know the number one law of selling as a seller? Never assume you know what the buyer's thinking. Never assume you know what the buyer's thinking. Even when you think you know what the buyer's thinking, even if you've had some pre-communication with them, never assume you know what the buyer's thinking. So one of the, and I thought it was a really good example that's in the Ninja Selling. It was a woman who was working with a couple. They were not married. And she said, I sat down with them. I went through the full assessment. I believed that, they had revealed what their need structure was on this home. She goes, we ran all around Colorado. I showed them 40 homes. And they're not biting. And she goes, especially he was not biting, and he was the decision maker. That's another thing. You always have to ascertain who's the decision maker, right? They were not married. This is an interesting thing. And finally she said, I had to find out what was going on here, because she's practicing the ninja system and it's not working. So she sits down with the young guy and she says to him, I've worked with you and, Joni Sue, you've told me exactly what you wanted. I've presented these products. I mean, we've seen 40 homes that fit the bill, da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. May I ask, what am I missing? What else do you and your partner need so we can go ahead and get you in a property? And he looked at her and he said, I'm not sure she's the one. I'm not sure I want to buy a house. Wow.
You may have started with that one.
Interesting, right? So never assume you know. So using those probing questions, getting into those probing questions to really find out what's going on with that individual. Now, here's one thing that's very, very important. I'm a D, I want to control, but guess what? I can't control the decision of the buyer. I can only control the process, right? I can only control the process. And I control the process by bonding to the individual, digging deep to enter into relationship with that individual. Get to know what their need structure is. Dig, not be afraid to ask the questions. A lot of times, S's and C's will not dig deep, and they will not dig deep because they get to a certain point and they think, I don't want to offend that person. I don't want to offend that person, so I'm not going to ask another question. And then they walk away from that and they really haven't fully utilize their ability to support the buyer to discover their need, which is a mutual discovery where then these two parties can work together and you can move forward in the selling interaction. Ds can be dismissive. And another thing Ds can do is that if I think I have an answer for your question and you give me an answer and it's not my answer, I'm going to dismiss that. I mean, this happens in our brains. We have to be cognizant of it. Or to dismiss someone. C's a lot of times, they think everybody needs a ridiculous amount of information to make a decision. You don't. Everybody doesn't need that. So, these are just different interactions. But another key when you're working with somebody in this process of discovery is to be a discerned listener. Are you really hearing what that person is saying back to you? Or are you hearing what you think you want to hear? Or are you hearing what you want to hear? And, I've coached a lot of people in sales, and I'll be coaching people, and they're an S, so they're a C, and I know their communication style, especially an S, and we'll come to that point, and I'll say, well, what did that individual say when you asked them this question? And an S will come back and say, well, I didn't ask them that question. I didn't want to offend them. I said, I'm confused how by seeking to support them to discover their need, asking them that next question would be offensive. What would be the worst thing in the world that could happen to you as an S if you asked that question? You might be at a point of enlightenment and you can move forward in the conversation. So very, very interesting, right? So we want to bond. So the gentleman in Ninja Selling says that and he's talking about professionals in real estate. Most professionals in real estate do a very quick 3-step, quick connection. Then they want to just run right in, I call it diarrhea of the mouth, talking about themselves and what they're going to offer either on a buyer agreement or a listing agreement. And then they seek to go to the close. And a lot of times because they haven't found the need, the close isn't happening. What do you believe is most important, the beginning of the interaction or the close?
Can't get to the close.
Thank you. It's the beginning. You can't get to the close if you've mucked up the beginning. So you really have to be cognizant of the beginning and form that relationship and dig deep and working with that individual through the process, mutually come to understanding what the need structure, the real need structure of those individuals are that you're working with. And once you've got that, then you've got the fertile seeds of moving forward and making this engagement productive and profitable for both parties, right? Because the bottom line is, we want to make, if I was in residential real estate, I want to make sure that I'm being in service to the client and I'm servicing the client and I'm filling the client's need so the client gets what they want, right? And if they get what they want, what happens? You get what you want. Woo! Yes, it's the double win. Oh, you're all so smart. I'm so excited. That's just so great. So any questions so far about what we were talking about here? Any observations?
There's some acronym, and I think it's FROG, but it's ways to remember what to ask people. I forgot what the G is, but it's, what is it?
I've heard of this Ford.
Ford, that's not a ninja. Yeah, Ford.
Family, occupation, relationships, and I thought it was G, I thought it was FROG, but Ford. Family.
Well,
Family or occupation, recreation, and dreams.
And dreams. And dreams are very important, right? Very, very important because goals. So very interesting. So also some points are, the 3 C's, the 3 C's, clarity. When you're asking questions, you're going to develop clarity, correct? And don't be afraid to go beyond what I call the surface questions. That's what I see a lot with individuals in sales, and I don't care what you're selling. I see that a lot when you're working with individuals who are engaged in selling a product or a service. They just do the surface. They don't dig deep. You have to be willing to dig deep because that's where the best fruit is, right? The best fruit is on the branch way out here. It's not in the safe zone. You got to get out there into the non-safe zone. And we have to do this decorously. We're dealing with human beings. We've entered into relationship. We want this relationship to be favorable and trust-based, and we want it to be continual. When you establish a relationship with somebody, you don't want to do business with them one time. Nobody wants to do business with somebody one time. We want to do business with them multiple times. And in terms of being a real estate professional, so how many houses do people buy in a lifetime? 5? Probably. No, probably true. I think I'm on my 3rd house, right, at this point in my development. So that's true, yeah, 5. I would say that's good. And I don't know what the market is today. Maybe I'm not in real estate, but you know what? But you want people to come back to you and you want them to do business with you. But in between that, you want people to refer you to other people. If people have a positive experience with you, what are they going to do? They're going to tell somebody else about that, right? And they're going to say, hey, somebody says, oh, I need to buy a house, or my daughter and my husband want to buy a house. Great, you need to call, she was just $1. He was so wonderful and our transaction was fabulous. So you need to call so-and-so. Referrals, right? That's all about customer service, maintaining that relationship and moving forward. So in your, when you're using your questions, you want to be clear, you want to establish confidence. When you're working with the client and they feel confident and being in confidence with you, that you're trustworthy and they can trust you and they can reveal themselves to you and that you can come to a mutually beneficial conclusion as to what their need structure is, then you're going to have a close. Then you're going to have a successful sale. Then it's going to happen. So very, very, very important. Here's a couple things when you're opening questioning with individuals that does 2 things. It invites people into the conversation, but it also gives you a view into how what is their personality type, what is their communication style, and what is their closing ratio. So one thing I'll say to an individual when I'm starting a relationship with them is I'll say, would you be willing to share your story with me? Tell me a little bit about you. And when I ask that question, I'm waiting for that first response. I want to see what is their energy today. I also want to hear how they respond. Usually a D and an I will give you a more favorable and demonstrative response, which will give you an indicator that, I'm entering into a conversation here possibly with a D or an I personality. Both are high decision makers. Or they may say, well, I'm good today, or pretty good today. Or a C will say, well, why do you ask? Because the analytics are going on in their brain. Why does this person want to know how I am today? Or why does this person want to know my story? Another thing when I'll say to somebody, would you be willing to share your story with me? A D will just tell you their story. And I'll probably go, oh yeah, oh yes, and they just go blah, 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 blah. S's and C's will usually say, well, an S will probably say, well, what would you like to know? Because they're people pleasers. They want to tell you what they think you want to hear. And a C will probably say, well, why do you need to know that? That's the analytics, right? So if you can listen, remember that discerned listening is part of that process of communication. If you can really listen and you can train your listening or train your ear to hear that response, that can be a good indicator as to what is this person's communication style? What is this person's communication style? What is this person's communication style? And that helps you then to move forward and start asking those survey questions to create alignment. And then the probing questions to mutually come together to find the need. And then the need affirmation questions. How many of you, when you believe and perceive you've heard what the buyer's telling you they need, repeat that to them 2 or 3 times and seek to get a yes or an endorsement from them? That's need affirmation. And when you're moving into the close, if you get 2 or 3 need affirmation yeses, it's time to close. Go to the close. Go to the close. S's, especially C's, they'll keep going on and going on. Well, let me show you 5 more pages of information. No, we're done. It's time to close. So, like I said, it's like, wah! And it's like a dance. Communication is like a dance, right? It's like a choreographed dance based on your listening skills, which is really, really important. So has this helped you today? Has this been an enlightenment today? Do you believe you've learned some new points that will support you as you grow forward and master your craft in speaking to other individuals? If you have been engaged in your profession for many seasons, do you already engage in this process like this? Do you find that the process is fulfilling? Those are all, all questions for all of us to answer. One thing I really believe is important for all human beings, and Judy and I were talking about this earlier, we're constantly on a learning continuum, right? School's never out for the pro. And so I know I'm preaching to the choir here because you're here today. You're here today. You're here to feed yourselves. You're here for professional development. You're here to develop new skill sets. You're here to grow forward. And we're constantly growing forward, constantly growing forward. And, the world changes, our lives change, our interactions change. But the bottom line is people pretty much stay the same. So I think I'm at 10:30, right? Is that my time at 10:30? Okay. So as I recap, just a couple other things about human beings to always remember because you're engaging with human beings. Human beings wear 2 invisible signs at all times. They wear 2 invisible signs at all times. All of you are wearing these 2 signs today. Every single one of you are wearing these 2 signs today. The first sign is, make me feel special. Affirm me as a human being. Recognize me as a human being. Honor me as a human being. Pay attention to me. Every human being wears that sign. So as you're engaging them and any human being in interpersonal communication, whether it's in your, the quadrant of you developing your career, whether it's in your social quadrant, your family quadrant, your parenting quadrant, whatever it is, every human being you meet wears that sign. And if you feel that, being focused on them, it's going to really solidify your bond and your connection. The second sign people wear at the same time, which is kind of juxtaposing or a yin and a yang. So here they're like, oh, love me, love me, love me, affirm me as a human being, recognize me, say my name twice, say it 20 times, make me feel special, find out about me, fill my need, fill my need. And then at the same time, the second sign is, hey, if I enter into this relationship with you, what do I get out of it? What's going to happen if I come into this relationship? And they're kind of odd signs, right? Because they're juxtaposing to each other. But that's what human beings are carrying in them internally at all times. If you can kind of think, make me feel special, and hey, what's in it for me? If you always remember that, and if you lead with that in interpersonal communication, and selling is an interpersonal communication construct, you're going to be so profound, so profoundly impactful, and you're going to have great results. And then that other sign, the other thing, I mean, this is, I don't know if it's a sign, but this is just human nature. This is just human nature is, when people are like, they really don't care who you are. They really don't care if you've been in real estate for 30 years. You don't care that I've been in sales for 41 years until you know that I care about you. It's all about caring about that other human being. And once you've created that bond of trust, once you've entered into relationship, and I don't care what your business is, you're going to move forward. And great things are going to happen. And you're going to have mutually beneficial double win results. And it's all about human nature. It's all about human communication. And selling is an interpersonal communication construct. So just to recap today, we identified what your personality type is. We talked a little bit about how that translates into your communication style and why it's very important to understand how you communicate. What are your strengths in your communication process? What are your challenges in your communication process? And then also how you can seek to identify the communication process in another individual that you're working with so you can align and you can connect. People like to be communicated with in their style, preferably, so you can align and you can connect. And then, remembering all those other component pieces about how we communicate and, really working to find the need of that individual and or those individuals that you're working with and then fill it. I mean, I was taught in sales 190,000 years ago, if you find a need and fill it, you have a sale, right? If you find a need and fill it, you have a sale. And the most important thing is it has to be filling the buyer's need, not your need, the buyer's need. And when you do that, ta-da! You're going to become masters of the communication process, and you're going to be highly successful as you drive yourself and your business and your relationships forward. So thank you so much for allowing me to be here with you today. As I said, please leave your contact information with me before we leave so I can update you on my offerings at JJC, or reach out to me if you are interested in individual coaching, especially if you want to dive in and figure out your communication style and then how to take that further along. So thank you so much for allowing me to be of service to you today. I'm honored and privileged, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.